Welcome back. It's another Feisty Friday. And I want to ask you a question that might make you feel a little uncomfortable, but that's part of what feisty means, of course. Sometimes we have to be a little bit uncomfortable. What does it feel like to be led by you? Not what do people think about you? Different question. Not whether people respect you? Different question. What does it actually feel like to be in a room with you when things start to go wrong? Because that moment, that is where real leadership begins. We, and by we, I mean like people who talk about leadership all the time, like me, spend so much time talking about strategy, communication, accountability, even decision making. And those things definitely matter as leaders. But I will tell you, underneath all of them is something far more powerful, and we don't talk about it enough, and that is emotion. Whether we realize it or not, leaders become emotional reference points. When a deadline slips, people don't just look at the project plan, they don't look at the person who let the deadline slip, they look at you as a leader. When conflict happens, those people don't just listen to your words as a leader, they watch your face. They lean towards you to notice your body language, your breathing, your tone, your eyes. Are they rolling or are they steady? Because they're asking themselves a question, and that question is, are we safe in this moment or should we be worried? That That's emotional contagion. And most leaders, including me, have very little idea how contagious we really are. I've seen leaders walk into a room that's already frustrated and they don't raise their voice. They don't criticize anyone. But within 10 minutes or so, the whole meeting feels tense anyway. Nobody wants to take a risk. Nobody wants to ask the difficult questions. Or people show, the elephant in the room. And everyone starts managing the leader instead of talking about what's really going on in the room, the elephant. The opposite is true of leaders as well as others. Because the best leaders that I've worked for and worked with aren't always the calmest ones. And that's okay. They recognize in the moment that they know things go wrong. They know because they themselves have made mistakes. And they can actually bring about a calm in spite of maybe even feeling calm because they've learned that everyone in the room is actually borrowing someone else's emotional state. And they're borrowing the leaders most often. And that is a huge responsibility. That's one of the biggest reasons why, as a leader, it's so important. If your feathers are ruffled, you have to say they are. Because faking your feathers not being ruffled, you are more likely to unconsciously give off energy that people will pick up. And that energy will actually communicate to them that it isn't a safe place. Because, culture in organizations is not built by advertisements, by marketing, by posters pinned on a wall. Culture and the way we make each other feel is built by repeated emotional experiences. And we experience emotions at work all the time. And people will remember how it felt to be with you in that room. They will remember how you made them feel long after they've forgotten what the heck was really going on in the room. And the problem is we don't embrace this, we don't recognize it, and we don't control ourselves enough. And controlling yourself as a leader is not pretending. Controlling yourself as a leader when you maybe are going to roll your eyes is, hey, everybody has moments. Roll your eyes and then say, you know what? Ugh, I'm just having a moment. I'm frustrated. I'm feeling all the things. What I do want you to know is that it's okay for all of us to feel the disappointment when the project deadline is screwed up. A true leader shows up in honesty and vulnerability in those moments. And then what do? Before they say a single word, great leaders are asking themselves, what am I about to teach this team about pressure? And they're asking that in the moment before they open their mouths because they realize if they are deciding to bullshit the room, they're going to have to pay the consequences of not having been honest with the room. And great leaders understand it's not worth it because it's too costly. Great leaders understand that there's so much for themselves to learn in those emotional moments. And the biggest question they're asking themselves is whether they are showing and teaching and leading resilience or anxiety. And you know what? So many of us are leading anxiety because we're feeling anxiety. And the fastest way to reduce our anxiety is to be honest with ourselves, to be honest with the room, and then to recognize it's about how much your emotion is going to influence the emotion of others. And that authenticity, man, that's the fastest way to cut through that and to make sure that people really do feel safe. It is okay to feel frustrated. It is okay to believe that things are wrong and we need to fix them. Leaders have to do that. But great leaders understand that their emotions about that fix, their emotions about that wrong in the room, other people are feeling that energy, regardless of how they say it. And so if you are tempted to pretend, let me just tell you, it's going to cost you far more in the long run. Creating psychological safety is about creating an environment where you get to be honest and you get to create space for others to be honest. It's about getting that elephant out of the room so that we can talk about it in a conscious, responsible way. So if this message resonated with you, if you can see or feel yourself in this, or maybe you're in a leadership environment right now where your leader isn't doing this. People ask me all the time, they're like, what do I do when I understand these things, but I have a leader who doesn't understand those things? Here's what you do. You lead up. You lead up. You cannot change the behavior of others. If you could, if we could change the behavior of others, this would be a very different conversation. But only you and I can control ourselves. It's us that we have dominion over. So lead up, create authenticity, create psychological safety, create an environment where others want to be in a room with you, even if you don't have the authority. Because that right there, that's leadership without title. Great leaders create an environment where people want to be with them because they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel valued, and they feel safe to talk about what's really going on. And we need to be building healthier culture, not at the organizations, even from the top down, because many of us aren't at the top. Creating healthier cultures wherever we are. And one of the ways to do that is to create that honesty and that space wherever we are, because other people are catching our emotions. It's like a virus. And you know what? As a human species, we have to recognize that those emotions are a contagion. And as a result, great leaders, great individuals who understand that will be authentic and also harness those emotions and ask themselves, how am I making people feel? Because you know how it feels to be seen and heard. And we all want to feel that. So let's stay feisty and create the culture that we want to be working in. That's it for this week. See you next time.